The Virosophy Society presents How to Save the World. Influenza is a seasonal disease. Each year a new variant appears and sickens millions of people around the world. This is a virus that mutates very fast and constantly threatens our civilization, so scientists are on a permanent crusade against the disease. The vaccine is the weapon of medicine with which we can deal with this virus. But you may ask, how is a vaccine made? In this informative capsule we will show you how you can make your own vaccine and save millions of lives just by using chicken eggs. Step 1. Go to the supermarket with your research team. This is the easiest step, although city traffic may make it difficult. Step 2. Buy as many chicken eggs as you can. Never mind that people will complain that you've taken them all. Tell them you're going to save the world and they'll probably understand.
Hello, we're scientists and we want to buy all these eggs. We're going to save the world.
Are you going to pay with cash or card?
Oh shoot, I think I forgot my card at home.
Heroes always have challenges to face. But nothing science can't handle. After buying all the eggs comes one of the most important steps. Fertilize the eggs, wait for the embryo to grow and infect it with the influenza virus to grow in the embryo's tissues. A chicken embryo egg is infected with the virus and left to incubate until it reproduces. It is extracted and filtered and then inactivated with special chemicals that weaken and kill the virus. Thus the vaccine has only killed viruses that will help the immune system react. This is how millions of eggs are used to incubate the influenza viruses that will become part of the vaccines that are administered each year and save billions of lives. You see, you can be a hero. Remember, a chicken egg can save your life. Let's review how to make a vaccine. First, the influenza virus is taken and injected into a fertilized egg. The virus will multiply in the tissues of the chicken embryo. To get more virus, you incubate long enough to have many more viruses inside the egg. The egg is then broken and the allantoic fluid containing the virus is removed. After the influenza virus has been isolated, it will be inactivated. This can be done with ultraviolet light or gamma radiation, as well as chemical treatments with formaldehyde and beta-propiolactone. These processes will kill the virus and inactivate it. The vaccine is made from these pieces which do not pose any health risk.
The United States is in the midst of its worst bird flu outbreak in years. Millions of poultry and wild birds have been killed, and although the risk to human health is low, the impacts are trickling down to consumers.
The possibility of a flu epidemic throughout Europe isn't going to catch this family on the hop. So long as they stay inside, they're okay. It's a bit of a shock at first sight, but the trio, looking like the Three Bears story come to life, are protected from just about everything that this scientific world could inflict upon them. The suits are antibacteriological, anti-nuclear, and anti-chemical. By the look of them, they're a bit antisocial as well.
This virus is also proving deadly to certain wild birds, like this eagle, who've been hit much harder by this strain than in past outbreaks.
As I was saying, there are three different kinds of people who are unlikely to catch influenza. The Arctic explorer, the deep sea diver, and the hermit.
Flu, seizing, unable to stand, unresponsive. Only one lucky owl, which may have had a lower viral load, has survived.
To escape flu, they get plenty of fresh air. Avoid crowded places. And get regular meals and sleep.
It's not clear why this year's outbreak is so much worse for wild birds than in 2015. Back then, not a single raptor at the center.
This is for the fever. This is for the aches and pains. This is for the cough. This is for the stomach. This is for the...
Also with worldwide problems, but in a totally different field, are the doctors and scientists at the World Influenza Center, Mill Hill. New types of flu are their concern, and from all over the world come reports of the latest types of influenza discovered by the World Health Organization. Identified, the various types of flu can now be fought by an appropriate vaccine. But the researchers have no easy task, since there are 3 main types of influenza bug, and 2 of the types have dozens of strains. Not until a vaccine is perfected which can deal with all the types and subtypes will the world be rid of this common illness. Flu is often called the big sneeze, and is sometimes regarded as a joke, but it is far from funny. In 1918, there was a world epidemic which killed off 15 million people, more than 150,000 dying in the British Isles alone. At present, it takes 1 egg to produce 1 full dose of anti-flu vaccine, but cheaper methods are being sought. Meanwhile, at this laboratory and many others, the battle goes on and victory is in sight. Soon, say the scientists, they'll be able to inoculate anyone against flu, and the big sneeze will be silenced at last.
Influenza viruses belong to the Orthomyxoviridae family. They are enveloped viruses with an RNA genome segmented into 8 pieces that code for 10 viral proteins. One of the most important proteins are hemagglutinin, of which there are 16 subtypes, and neurological, which has 9 subtypes, which has the potential to generate 144 different influenza viral strains. A new one of the seasonal influenza virus appears every year, since the virus has a high mutation rate. Very small mutations that slightly affect the structure of the molecules detected by the immune system. Different influenza viruses can mix when they infect the same cell. The segments of its genome are exchanged, generating very drastic and important mutations that generate a strain capable of passing from one animal species to another. This is called the antigenic shift, and viruses with pandemic potential arise from this phenomenon.
Everyone I know, from children to the elderly, has contracted the disease. It is unusually deadly in young people. It just wipes them out. There is an intense headache, a fever that drives you crazy, and after 5 days of martyrdom, if you manage to survive, you are a very lucky person. I have seen with my own eyes how young people in their 20s and 30s succumb fulminantly. I know that someone has little chance of survival when their skin turns blue or purple. I was taught in the hospital to check the feet. If they are blue, there is nothing to be done. The patient will die, that's a fact. Everyone has lost someone. I almost lost my father. 2 of my brothers died. There are those who have lost their whole family. This is an uncontrollable disease. The cemeteries are full and death roams the streets. I have known of entire villages and communities that were razed to the ground, completely wiped out, with no survivors. When I had the flu, I had a terrible headache, a cough that seemed endless, very strong sneezing, I was sweating a lot, and I felt terrible pain all the time all over my body. I even had hallucinations, because of the high fever. I didn't know if I would live to tell about it. because in the hospital there were perfectly healthy people one day, and the next day they died. Other people were not so lucky. Spanish flu collapses the respiratory system by pneumonia. The lungs fill with fluid and hemorrhage, so they fill with blood. This is how the most severe patients coughed up frothy blood from the mouth, bled from the nose, from the ears, and even from the eyes.
The first virus would not be observed under the electron microscope until 1935. Therefore, during the 1918 influenza pandemic, it was thought that the causal agent was a bacterium, Haemophilus influenza. In the 1990s, scientists at the Armed Forces Institute of Pathology extracted samples of Spanish influenza virus from preserved autopsy specimens of American soldiers who died in the 1918 pandemic. They obtained RNA sequence fragments and recreated the virus in the laboratory to study its effects in animals. Upon infecting the animals, a very strong immune response was observed for the 1918 H1N1 influenza virus. The H1N1 influenza virus of the 1918 pandemic had the ability to enter the central nervous system through the olfactory nerves. That is why many patients suffered hallucinations, delirium, and in the years following the pandemic, a disease called encephalitis lethargica.
Her mind split in two, acknowledged and denied what she saw in the one instant. For across an abyss of complaining darkness, her reasoning, coherent self watched the strange frenzy of the other coldly, reluctant to admit the truth of its visions, its tenacious remorses and
In 1996, a new type of influenza virus emerged in Hong Kong, the highly pathogenic H5N1 strain. This virus is a waterfowl virus and has spread to farm poultry. Neurological manifestations, like the 1918 influenza, have also been observed in the H5N1 virus. Before H5N1 viruses can become pandemic, they will likely have to acquire the ability to grow well in the upper portion of the human airway, which would lead to efficient human-to-human transmission via sneezing and coughing. Our data from ferrets suggests that if highly pathogenic H5N1 viruses do gain this foothold in humans, they could cause subclinical neurologic complications by invading the brain via the nerve pathway route, or by causing brain vasculitis. The reported human cases of H5N1 so far have been by direct transmission from birds to humans. From the first human case reported in Hong Kong in 1997 to 2023, 874 people have been infected. Of these, 458 have died. That is, this virus has an estimated mortality rate of 52 to 60%.
This is why this virus is of great concern to the international community because of its pandemic potential and devastating consequences.